Alright guys, welcome back. I'm going to go through now painting the metallics on the signifier, which is this guy here. Going to go through quickly the colours that I've got down on my palette here, and I'll be adding one for the gold towards the end for the little coin things here. So initially for the chainmail I'm going to be using burnt iron. It's quite a warm metallic, so it's got a hue of brown to it, which will go quite well, especially once I get a bit of a dry brush on there and lighten it up a bit. For the armor trim, I'm using a mixture of copper and brass balls. I'm going to use that for the trim. So I'm not going to paint each model individually, let you watch that, because it'll probably get quite tedious for you and for me to talk throughout the whole thing. So I'll crack on, get the base colours down, then we'll go over the washes that we're going to use and add in some extra details. Alright. Just going to adjust my light. So if you've never used these Vallejo metal colours before, they are fantastic. Both they'll run straight through an airbrush, and they'll run beautifully off a paintbrush as well, and they'll cover superbly with both. No need for thinning. They'll just go straight out of the pot through both airbrush and your brush. Because these guys are tabletop, I'm going to do all the chains and steel parts the same colour. And I'm going to quickly base coat these coins or emblems, whatever you want to call them, with the steel, just because the brass balls by P3, it's an amazing colour, but I find it doesn't coat the best. It's a bit transparent, so at least by getting a coat of this down, it's going to be a bit of a cheat and bring out the colour from the brass balls a bit quicker, especially with that red underneath. Sorry, I've gone a bit quiet there. I'll zoom in a bit more so you can see what I'm doing. I'll probably throw some music in the bit I'm not talking, just to keep you guys entertained. If you've seen other stuff on our channel, you will have heard some of the music that I have from a very good friend of mine. So Mr. Gavin Chung, a very talented composer, now living down south in London, but from back home in Ireland. And if you ever want a piece of music commissioned, he's definitely the man to go see. Sorry, the light's not the best here at this time of day, so I do apologise if some of this is a bit hard to see. I will do my best to brighten up when editing. The brass balls. It's absolutely fantastic colour. Big fan of this colour by P3. I'm just really kind of going to stipple it on so I don't get total coverage, just to add a bit of character. To these medallions or medals, whatever you want to call them. Missed a bit of the staff here. Okay, so the base metallics done. So what I'm going to do, go get some washes ready, and we'll wash the metallics and then finally move on to the flesh. Alright, okay, back for the washes that I'm going to use. The one on the right here is the Vallejo model wash for dark vehicles black. Thinned down probably 1:1 or 50-50 with water. And then this one here, despite being in an Agrax Earthshade, is concoction of my own making. 100% can't remember what's in it. I know there's some brown and chestnut inks as well as some black ink. Perhaps a bit of Rhinox hide, apologies. Some VG to thicken it out, and then some flow improver and a little water. So it's got a bit of a thick consistency. So yeah, we'll crack on with this, applying it to all the coppers, bronzes that we want to cover, or the brass I should say, sorry. What I'm going to do initially is apply some to the chainmail, just to warm it up a bit before we go in with that black and make it quite dark. Just to give it an almost oiled effect, because according to the Iron Golems, flesh is temporary and the steel or metal is everlasting. So thanks to the candy red being an enamel, this hopefully will act like a pin wash and just pool in amongst the recesses where we want it, which is going to help with the speed at these being tabletop. I'm going to throw a bit on this metal here. Bit on the weapon as well before we go in with the black. Make sure I haven't missed anywhere with this. Right. The black might need to thin it slightly. You can see it's quite thin and literally just running down, and this is what I want with the chainmail, so I'm going to just dab it into parts and let it run down and kind of make its own shadows. Nothing hard and steady here or a rule of thumb, just kind of going with literally the flow. Excuse the terrible pun. Probably throw a few just in amongst here as well, just a tiny bit. Bit more. Depth and shadow to the miniature. Go ahead and bottom out, just run a little bit into the shadows of this red. So what we're going to do after this is I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer, make sure all the washes are dry. If you don't have a hairdryer in your kind of painting, if you have a permanent painting station, I recommend getting one. Just a cheap one. Doesn't have to be too powerful, just to help speed up things. If you're doing a single miniature, you can pick them up on eBay, Amazon, anywhere like that for next to nothing. Or if you're lucky enough to have a partner who has a spare one, just make sure you get permission before you borrow it, because even though they don't use it, they always seem to want it. Or at least mine does. Right, so what I'm going to do, quick pause, hit it with the hairdryer, and then we're going to go in with the final highlight, if I can find it. I'm hopefully going to be using Radiant Platinum. If not, I'll find a substitute for it. But back in a second. Alright guys, unfortunately Radiant Platinum didn't want to come out to play tonight. I can't find it anywhere. So what we're going to go for is Emerald Alchemy and Citrine Alchemy. Citrine for the brasses and bronzes, or brass and copper, what have you. And the green we're going to put on the hammer, and then we're going to go and highlight that further, okay? Just with a quick run over of Necron compound. Okay, so starting off with the Citrine Alchemy. It's a really nice colour. I'm just going to tap it into the edges, raised areas, what have you. very rough because it's chaos after all. And we're only trying to achieve tabletop standard here. So what I might do, if people like this video, is push on from where we leave off this miniature and kind of bring them up to a higher standard, if that's something people are interested in seeing. Sorry, bring this down for you. Finally, after the metallics, we'll go ahead and do a quick job on the skin. Not going to follow exactly the Games Workshop scheme, as not a massively big fan of, but we'll go for quite a pale tone for these. As you can see, not taking much time or even thinking about where these highlights are going, just whack them on top. The alchemy paints are really good at catching the light. Yeah, I've been using them for a number of years now. Okay. Now we'll quickly go with the cobalt. What I'm just going to do is catch this raised surface here. Same again, no hard fast rule where I'm applying it, except roughly in the general area of where I would want my highlights. Do the same for the spikes quickly. Run it along. The extremities of his totem or banner, whatever you want to call it. Throw some in on the chains quickly. Right. So I'll grab my Necron compound. Apologies for catching the camera there. Don't know why I'm shaking it. I'll just not put it on the wet palette, but pop it in here. I'm sure everyone has at some point in their painting career tried Necron compound. Bit of a hit and miss paint, but I find, you know, when needs must, you can just pop it on. It's got a nice bright silver to it. Same again, just trying to catch a couple of points on the various metals. Let's add a bit of extra detail for literally a second of work. Making tabletop, not just basic, but looking half decent as well. Okay, so I'm going to call the metallics done there, and we'll move on to the flesh. I will go sort that now. Alright guys, so for the flesh what I'm using is P3 Morrow White and P3 Rin flesh. Probably go in 2 parts of Rin to 1 part Morrow White just to make it that a little bit paler, and then for my shade I'm going to use Lindanis Grey. It's scale 75 Fantasy and Games. So we're going to start off my base flesh colour. This is the bit where you realise how annoying these nice looking miniatures are to get to all the little nooks and crannies. Sorry. So as you can see with these pale flesh colours there, going to need a second coat. So what I'll do is I'll pause it here just to save time, add on the second coat, finish it off, and then we'll move on to the shading. So bear with me. Alright guys, so now the flesh is all base coated even. We're going to start shading it. I'm going to use the the grey by scale 75. Just thinned it down quite a lot so I can just almost apply it as a wash and clean up the little mistake. So what I'm trying to achieve here is just like an unnatural pallor to the skin. So might not be for you. You might prefer the Games Workshop Studio paint job, which is fair enough. But for me, it's just a bit. Not that I wasn't a fan, so I thought I'd try something myself. So hopefully, while this is still wet, I'm gonna get some Vallejo heavy charcoal. I want to thin that down. And just add a little bit of extra shading and detail. Also kind of outline where flesh meets steel. Not want to go in too heavy with this. And if it is a bit too heavy, like you can see here, I'm going to draw it out, get a wet brush, kind of draw it to where I want it to be. Get a bit more of my grey, mix that back in, and just kind of play with it like that. So trying to paint the folds in his side here. Go back in. Right. And anywhere where I find it's too heavy, I can just go in with my grey and smooth it out a bit. And then finally, we will go back with the original base colour and highlight it a bit more. Just pure tabletop here. So now back with my base colour. I'm going to go lighten that up a bit more. Just to make it really unhealthily pale. So we've got almost pure white here. Hit up some highlights wherever the light's going to catch the skin, and this will help give an almost kind of a sheen to the skin, as if it's clammy and the light's catching it. And then if we do want to adjust it further, we can go in with some reds and kind of make bruising, stuff like that. Or even better for chaos, add in kind of blacks, almost blacks, to signify like corruption or what have you flowing through the skin and pooling. Too much water. Right, there we have them. So probably while I'm here, I'm going to add just a tiny tad detail to this arm spike, I guess. And he's got another one here, just because I'm not sure if I missed it or just didn't add enough detail to it initially. But might as well fix it while we're here. It'll take seconds for you. Right, and then we have a signifier. I'll get a picture of them in the light box, maybe do a rotating 360 of them as well. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful, even if you just take 1 or 2 bits away from it. Please let me know. A nice simple tabletop standard mini painted fairly quickly. So yep, once again, please subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Anything you feel I could do to improve on next videos, or things you'd like to see, things you don't like, please make sure to mention them in the comments so I can try and improve. Next up, I think we'll be painting Forge World Constantine Valdor, another commission that I have lined up. It'll be after my holidays, so I'll be looking at the start of September when I start working on that. But once again, thank you guys. I hope you enjoy, and happy painting.